Hello my dear friends, and welcome to my channel. My name is Barbara, and today we're going to be looking at the Pluto in Sagittarius generation. So very excited to be looking at this generation. They are Generation Z. Pluto entered Sag in 1995 and exited in 2008 officially. So usually on those tail ends of the dates, Pluto basically what it does is it enters a new sign, exits back into the old sign, officially enters a new sign for a longer period of time, exits, comes back retrograde, and then exits officially. So you might have friends who are maybe born in 1995 who aren't Pluto in Sag, and then you might have friends who are born in 2008 who are Pluto in Capricorn, and then Pluto in Sagittarius retrograde. So if you yourself are Pluto in Sag retrograde, all that this retrograde really means is that it's just a little bit more challenging for you to accept the changes, because Pluto as a planet is all about change, all about transformation. And basically what Pluto does is it first rules an entire generation. I always look at it as that particular generation's karma that they all incarnated together to clear as a generation as a whole. It might not always resonate with everybody. You're always going to have outliers, but basically when we look at an overall generation, it is the majority. Okay, so it's the majority of people in this generation basically incarnated with a specific task and a specific purpose. So what Pluto does is it comes through a particular sign and basically destructs anything that has to do with that sign. It transforms it. So when we look at Pluto in Sag, what we're going to be looking at is the Sagittarian-like qualities. So Pluto and Sag as a generation as a whole, they're all about freedom. That's the main name of the game. Okay, there's a little rhyme. So it's the main name of the game for this generation. They're all about freedom. So they're going to be always looking to align themselves with freedom emotionally, whether it is in a relationship, whether it is in a job. This is the generation of entrepreneurship. Okay, so a lot of people in this generation, a lot of them right now, okay, who have grown up are interested in being entrepreneurs. They have that natural entrepreneurial spirit. This is because of the fact that it gives them that freedom. It allows them to have that freedom. And that's just the natural wave that we're all actually moving into as a society as a whole. It's more independent. It's more independent thinking, more independent learning, all these sorts of things. This particular generation is also all about travel. It's all about moving around. It's all about learning. Okay, so this generation is going to be very, very knowledgeable, which actually makes sense if you think about it, because of the fact that they grew up with the internet. Okay, so this generation grew up with the internet, and because of the fact that they had all this information accessible, they are very wise. They know a lot of different things, and this is exactly the Sagittarian like quality. Sagittarius is always going to know a lot of things. You're always going to wonder and be like, where did you learn that from? It's probably going to be the most random thing from left field. Well, basically what Sagittarius does is there's two different ways of learning. You have the traditional way of learning, okay, which is going to school, getting a degree, then maybe climbing. Okay, so there's that aspect of Sagittarius, so climbing within the academia world, so maybe getting a master's, maybe getting a PhD. But there's also the more so unconventional way of learning, which is learning through people, learning through experiences, learning through travel. It's all about expansion. Okay, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so this generation is all about expanding the minds. Okay, Sagittarius as a sign is usually half up in the clouds, half on the earth plane. All of these later signs are more spiritual. This is why as a society as a whole, we're moving into a more spiritual way of being. Spirituality is becoming more mainstream. Way more people are talking about it compared to before, all these sorts of things. And that's exactly what this generation is here to do. They're basically here to take those great ideas that they have and anchor them in the physical plane. Sagittarius as a sign is ruled by the centaur. Okay, so it's the first mythological creature in the zodiac. It's half human, half horse. So this is basically the nature of that generation. Okay, they are all about magic and mythology and, you know, things that are out of this world is really what this generation is about. And you'll see this as a very common theme within the generation as a whole. They're very interested in a lot of things to do with, again, mysticism and esoterica, anything to do with knowledge, anything to do with expansion, anything to do with having an open mind, all these sorts of things. That's really what this generation brings. Okay, so that's really what Sagittarius is all about. They might be interested in travel. They might be interested in moving around. Again, gathering as much information as they can. Now, every sign has a shadow aspect. So the shadow of Sagittarius is that they might have a hard time sticking to one thing, okay, because they never want to be bored. They constantly want to be stimulated. But the thing with Sag is what I've noticed with people, let's say, who have a lot of Sagittarius energy in their chart, when they do pick something that they want to do, they excel at it. Okay, so they have a hard time picking, because really what Sagittarius wants to do is wants to learn this and wants to learn that and wants to gather all the information that they possibly can. But then again, because they're so scattered, it's hard for them to focus on one thing. So when individuals in this generation do pick one thing that they are interested in learning, interested in pursuing, all these sorts of things, they're going to excel at it. Okay, so that Sagittarius, it expands. Wherever we have Sagittarius as a sign, it's going to expand that particular area. So in this particular case, we're expanding Pluto, we're expanding the change, we're expanding the transformation, really moving away from the status quo completely, because as we move into the later Pluto generations, it's going to be way more spiritual as a, again, society as a whole. So this is really a lot of what Pluto and Sag incarnated here to do. They're really here to break through all of these sorts of, again, norms that we have, all these sorts of things that we maybe did a certain way. Pluto and Sag is going to come in and be like, actually, we're not going to do it that way. Let's look at it from this perspective. This is really what Pluto and Sag is all about. Sagittarius is a sign, again, it's about that knowledge. So they're going to bring the different perspective, maybe things that people had never looked at before in society as a whole, maybe certain things that, again, were maybe buried. Okay, so Pluto and Scorpio comes through, brings things to the surface, okay, as a generation. And then Pluto and Sag is going to dissect that. Okay, they're going to look at things. They're going to kind of be like, okay, this works, this doesn't work. We're going to look at this. We're not going to look at this. We're going to expand on this, okay, expand the knowledge on this. We're going to leave this behind. So we're kind of doing this, okay, as a generation as a whole is really what Pluto and Sag is doing, but also then is the nature of the time, okay? So when I look at these particular generations, I kind of look at what they're going to be doing when they mature, so 18 and older, but a lot of people in this generation already started around the time that they're 16, okay? Around the time that they're 16, they started early. A lot of these individuals are starseeds from what I've noticed. They're very advanced, okay? They're very advanced for the way that the world is. A lot of things are outdated for them. Let's say you're someone who's Pluto and Sag, maybe the school system just doesn't work for you anymore because it's outdated. Certain places it hasn't even been updated since the 90s. Okay, so Pluto and Sag comes along, they're going to be bored, they don't care, they don't want to learn, all these sorts of things. It might seem that way from the outside, but really what's happening is they're more ascended. Okay, so this generation, every generation is usually more ascended than the previous one, but Pluto and Sag, I find that a lot of them are starseeds. Okay, is really what I've picked up on. A lot of them are very futuristic, a lot of them are very high vibrational. They're going to bring all this knowledge from different planets that they've lived on, okay, at more ascended planets, more ascended areas, okay, that they've lived in, and bring it here and again destruct that particular area. So let's say the school system, you know, you're going to have a bunch of Pluto and Saggies, and they're going to be like, we're not interested in this, we don't care to learn about this, this is irrelevant, all these sorts of things. Let's talk about this instead. Let's bring this instead. Okay, they're going to be the ones that are going to bring change probably within the school systems in the years to come. Okay, so this is going to be Pluto and Sag. They're going to bring things, newer things. Okay, it's all about being fast also. Okay, with the Pluto and Sag generation, again, it's the nature of the time that we're living in. Okay, as we go into more ascended states, we become faster. Okay, because of the fact that it's higher vibrational. So Pluto and Sag probably wants to get their information fast. Okay, they're probably not going to be interested to sit down and read through an encyclopedia, all these sorts of things. As usual, you might have outliers. Okay, so there might be some people who are interested in doing this, but as a generation as a whole, they're more ascended, so they want information fast. Okay, they want to get their information fast, and then it's on to the next thing and all these sorts of things, and then they gather all this sort of information. And again, you're going to see that if you communicate with a lot of these Pluto and Sagittarius, they're very, very wise. Okay, they're very, very wise as individuals, as a generation as a whole. They're going to, again, know a lot of things and know a lot of different things, bring through these new ideas. Again, even if you have Pluto and Sag yourself and you're tuning into this video, you might have visions of the future or ideas of the future or ideas of, you know, things you want to bring through, because again, it's expansion. Okay, so it really is, this is really what the Sagittarius sign is, and then especially in Pluto, because Pluto is the planet of change, is the planet of transformation, right? And we also have to look at Pluto, it's ruled by Scorpio. So Pluto being as the planet of change, transformation, death, rebirth, is going to also be anything to do with sex, anything to do with sexuality, all these sorts of things, taxes, joint finances. So that's really what Pluto is about as a planet. And then Sag comes in and expands that, blows it up, brings it to the surface, all these things, having conversations around all of these things. Every single one of these areas, again, it's more so like, again, even in the Pluto and Scorpio video that I just recently did, I talk about Scorpio as a sign. Basically what Scorpio does is, the reason all of these things are what Scorpio rules is because Scorpio wants to control. Okay, so now we have Sagittarius in there, and they're going to explode this, right? They're going to bring this to the surface. They're going to be like, okay, well, why is it like this? Okay, why does it have to be like this? Why does it have to be so linear? Let's look at it like this. Let's look at it to be more fluid. Let's look at it to be more colorful, almost, is really what it is. It doesn't have to be so black and white. It doesn't have to be, again, very like mundane, because if we really look at all the generations, if you guys have been following this whole video series, if we look at where we came from, which was Pluto and Virgo, I mean, we came from way further than that, but I started the series with Pluto and Virgo. Pluto and Virgo was all about the mundane, all about the repetition, all about doing the day-to-day tasks, which is really what the earth plane is all about. Okay, then we moved into Pluto and Libra. Pluto and Libra really was all about relationships, changing relationships, how we view relationships. We have Pluto and Scorpio, which is all about generational healing, generational trauma, secrets, things coming to the surface, taking those things out of society that have been hidden, buried, all these sorts of things. Pluto and Sag comes in and is like, okay, let's talk about it now. Let's expand it. How can we change it? How can we change all these sorts of things? That's really what Pluto and Sag is all about. They're here to change. They're here to be very independent, again, because freedom is the name of the game for them. So they need to be free. They're not going to want to probably be put into a box, okay? Any sort of way that you try to constrain them, it's not going to work, okay? And again, there's a push-pull energy because Pluto, right, being ruled by Scorpio, Scorpio wants to control, right? Well, Sag comes in and is like, well, we don't really agree with this. We don't want to be controlled in that way. It might not be something that they're consciously thinking, okay? It might not be something that they're thinking and sitting and being like, okay, I don't want to be controlled, all these sorts of things, but they're going to feel that downward pressure. And then they're going to bring through their new ideas, their new creative ideas, all these sorts of things, because it's expansion. It's expanding the mind. It's all these sorts of things. People in this generation might be really interested in even exercise also, because Sagittarius is also, people who have a lot of Sagittarian energy can be really good athletes. It's a fire sign, so it's all about that energy like flowing through them. They're very fast, like I mentioned, as a generation, so this also means they're very hyperactive in that sense, but just because of the fact that they're high vibrational, they're higher vibrational than most probably. A lot of these people from very young already are very aware of everything that's already happening within society. Part of the reason could just be because of the internet. The other reason is they just incarnated with this knowledge, okay? They maybe have certain realizations and know things that people maybe spend their whole lifetime discovering, but again, it's the nature of the time that they incarnated, and they're already ascendant beings. A lot of these individuals, they're already, again, higher vibrational. They have certain things already figured out, you know, certain lessons within their life, okay? They already probably have figured out, let's say, lessons that maybe have taken other people a longer time to realize, to figure out. These individuals come through and they already know them, okay? They're more ascended. It doesn't mean anyone's better or worse. It's just the nature of the generation is really what that is. They're just higher vibrational, they're more ascended, and then every generation that comes is more ascended than the previous one, especially this one. They're very, like I mentioned, starseeds, futuristic. They know all these sorts of things. They have all these sorts of ideas to push the collective forward, to basically take the collective out of any sort of stagnancy, any sort of norms, any sort of ways that we've been doing things, okay, that didn't work, all these sorts of things. And again, they basically are going to break through the status quo is the biggest thing, okay, for this generation. They're really, really going to break through the status quo and, you know, find ways to basically be free, right? Emotionally free, energetically free, free from any sort of downward pressure, that downward pressure of control. Again, whether they're consciously doing this or subconsciously doing this, it's just the nature of the generation, okay? So it really is all of this. They really want to be free. The Sagittarius is all about expanding. It's all about knowledge. It is all about travel, okay? So a lot of them might be interested in travel. A lot of them might be interested in moving around. This is how they gather knowledge, okay? Any sort of these things really is how this generation learns, okay? This is really what that is. This is how this generation learns. They want to learn things fast. They want to learn things quick. They want to get the information fast. Yeah, and that's really what the generation is. It really is. They came here to expand. They came here to grow. They came here to grow everybody. So a lot of these individuals, what I've noticed, again, this is just a generalization, but they might have incarnated into families where there's already like a harmonious environment within the family. So yesterday we talked about Pluto and Scorpio, where a lot of them probably incarnated into dysfunctional families. Again, this might not resonate with everybody, but Pluto and Sag already is incarnating into more, again, higher vibrational, because the thing is, for the Pluto and Sag to incarnate, they already kind of have to incarnate into parents that are higher vibrational themselves. Okay, so they kind of, because the parents have to be able to hold space basically for the Pluto and Sag child, for the Pluto and Sag child to be able to fully expand, to be able to fully grow, and to be able to be fully themselves is really what that is. So it's interesting to see. I mean, that might not be absolutely everybody, but again, this tends to happen with the future and future generations to come. The higher vibrational beings that do incarnate tend to come into more harmonious environments is really what that is, just because of the fact that they're very sensitive. That's another thing I forgot to mention. This generation is very sensitive in the sense that they're energetically sensitive is really what I'm saying. It's not so like sensitive sometimes has like a bad connotation to it. They're just energetically sensitive. They're pure beings. They are more they're starseeds is really what that is. Okay, they're really, really advanced starseeds. They are very pure, okay, is really what that is as well. So I'm gonna wrap up the video there, okay, my Pluto and Sag video. I do hope that you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the day.